This heart mold from Into Resin has a really cool crinkly texture and it's almost like velvet. I've used it with mica powder with really, really great effects. But I've been wanting to try a beachy theme because I'm a Florida girl and I just like the beach. However, this video did not really go to plan. So I'm going to show you the backstory and just prepare to be entertained. Just trust me, watch to the end. This mold holds 50 milliliters, so I mixed up 50 milliliters of the Let's Resin UV resistant resin, and then I have some of the opaque resin pigments, and that was my first mistake. So just keep watching and you'll see why. But this is kind of a really pretty oceany color, and I really had high hopes for it, honestly. So then I put my little turtle into the mold, and all was going well. And then I used my mermaid pearls, which I absolutely love. They come in all different sizes, and they're really, really shimmery. Okay, second mistake here. What do you think is going to happen? Just guess. What do you think is going to happen? I have a feeling most of them are probably going to float. They're trying to pop up there, aren't they? Now, if you've been watching my videos for a while, you know I'm pretty resourceful and I'm not about to waste any of this resin. I'm going to make something else out of this big old mess. So I poured it into another Into Resin heart mold, and this is really going to end up kind of being like a Franken pour. And if you don't know what that is, it's just a mishmash of a lot of different leftover resin. I'm going to take the same mold and I'm going to mix up the same amount of resin, but this time I'm going to add a secret ingredient. So I don't know if you've heard, but you can add a few drops of just regular clear PVA glue into resin and it prevents glitter from sinking to the bottom. So I thought I would try this method out. I've never tried it before with glitter, but I thought I would go ahead and try it out. This is just Amazon Basics PVA glue, clear school glue. Add a couple of drops into my resin to see if I can get those mermaid beads to float or not float, but be suspended in the resin without either floating to the top because they're very, very light or sinking all the way to the bottom like the glitter does. Now, look at what happens to the texture of the resin. It gets really thick and gloppy. And so I may have added a little bit too much glue. It sort of scared me a little bit, but I poured it into the mold anyway because I think this is going to prevent those mermaid beads from all floating to the top and just ending up in a great big mess on the top. So I pour a little bit of the mermaid beads in there and then pour the resin in there. It is almost like this reminds me of Nickelodeon slime. If you watched Nickelodeon as a well, maybe not as a kid. I'm 57 years old. I didn't watch it as a kid, but my daughter watched it as a kid. And this is what it reminds me of when they used to slime the guests on the show. They used to sit the guests in a chair and then the slime would rain down on them from above. That's what the texture of it kind of reminds me of. But I've watched both Steve McDonald Arts and Crafts and also Daniel Cooper on their channels. They've done loads of videos with the PVA glue in UV resin and also regular resin. And it doesn't, cause this big, huge chemical reaction. And it actually really does work with suspending the glitter inside of the resin and preventing it from sinking. And this actually does work for the beads. And I did stir them around a little bit because I just had them all on the bottom. So I probably should have mixed it in the resin before I poured it into the mold. But you know me, I'm always kind of, I don't know, working ahead of myself and getting impatient. That's what I should have done. But it's working. Y'all, it's working. Look at that. And the resin is really doming really, really nicely on the edge of this mold. So I think it's going to work. Is it going to work? I don't know. And then I added one of my little tiny starfish. I got this on Amazon too. And this is a real starfish. And I'm just kind of smooshing it down there inside the resin. Well, obviously inside the resin, where else would it be? Trying to get it up under the turtle so it will sort of be in the middle of this mold and not at the very top of the mold. And how cool is it that that little bead is right in the center of the starfish. I let the resin cure overnight, and then I'm just being really, really careful demolding. You always want to be careful with the silicone that you don't stretch the silicone too much and you avoid scratching it in any way. I know I overfilled the mold. I definitely overfilled the mold, but that's very easily corrected with an X-Acto knife or a burring tool. Just make sure your blade is nice and sharp and you're careful with your fingers that you don't cut yourself. However, I did overfill the mold a little bit too much. And when I was trimming away the edges there, I cut away a little bit too much. So this mold is probably going to be for my own use, but it's an experiment. I've not made this kind of mold before, so I don't have a whole lot of experience with it. So it's just live and learn. I learn by making these little mistakes so that I don't make them again. And then hopefully by watching this video, you can learn from my mistake and you don't make the same mistakes that I did. I am never afraid to make mistakes. Sometimes I'm a little bit embarrassed that I have to show you what they are, but I'm never embarrassed myself to make those mistakes. So here we go. Here is the front. I really love it. I really, really do love it. The turtle is just so cute. The beads did suspend within the resin. So I think next time I do need to mix the beads in with the resin before I pour into the mold, but they didn't all float to the top, or in this case, it would be the bottom. And even the starfish stayed exactly where I put it. I'm really happy with how this turned out. I probably added a little bit too much of the glue to the resin mix, but it didn't hurt anything. The resin cured just like it would normally without PVA glue. I am definitely doing this again, and I'm going to try different colors. I'm going to try maybe an aqua as a backer color or even white as the backer color because the base is key. It's all about the base. So, what do you think? Let me know in the comments. Happy Valentine's. Make it a crafty day, friends. Bye.